Okay, welcome. We've got first question tonight is what was generated by the satsang I posted, and you've all read that probably. And the question was, I'll read it. During your seminars, the usual suspect sanskara arose. And this sanskara is the feeling of neediness, the desperate desire to be liked, worrying what others think, and so forth. Plus lots of ugly thoughts, judging, blaming, and comparing and projecting, and so forth. It was quite a storm going on eternally.
Internally.
Sorry.
It's going on eternally.
Eternally, yes. Okay.
You skipped one there. Go back up.
What's that?
This one.
Oh. No, that's a technical question. Okay, and so what did Ramji say? He said, or not Ramji, this is one of our people, and they call. I'll expose it because it's so good it won't embarrass her. You'll love this. Here's what she said: suffering sucks, doesn't it? What you described is akin to watching your clothes spin and tumble in the washing machine's window. Freedom for the clothing in the spin cycle is hanging them out to dry in the light of the sun. That's such a beautiful, practical metaphor.
Yeah.
Huh? Freedom for the jiva is knowing I am not the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that arise in the mind. Easy to say, but it takes discipline not to identify with the negative thoughts. So anybody have any here we got the issue of freedom for the jiva and freedom from the jiva. And freedom from the jiva is required before you can actually give freedom for the jiva, before you can bless the jiva with freedom. So anyway, and then the questioner said, copy, I'll just paste this. The questioner said, these, meaning these thoughts, continue and intensify after every seminar, as I was out of the lovely sattvic bubble, which inoculated me against the worst of the episodes. I got on with my sadhana, clearing up the thinking, trying to strike a balance between being diligent, but not being too overly fanatical about it, and having some fun to boot. And here's what Nicole said, and I've added a bit to this now, Nicole. It seems you're relying on the group sattva to carry you through the seminar, which is fine up to a point. Sattva is absolutely necessary so that you can gain knowledge. If your life is simple, you can also assimilate the knowledge in the satsang too. But you need to know that the satsang sattva is generated and maintained by the teacher. Swamiji used to say, he said, climb on my wings, I'm going to take you on a flight. And then, so it means we just listen and pay attention, and he just, with the teaching, take us really, really to very high levels. And there was a marvelous feeling. That's what the beauty of this satsangs are. This is Vedanta satsangs. It's the knowledge that lifts you up and takes you high. If your life is simple, now, then she continues, if your life is simple, you can also assimilate the knowledge in the satsang too. But you need to know that the satsang, maintained by a teacher. It is this satsang situation that you walk into is a prepackaged bubble of peace that you absorb by osmosis when you come in. But a lot of disturbance after the satsang means that your approach to life itself is rajasic, tamasic. You are doing too many of the wrong things and too little of the right things. This is where hard work is needed, a constant, consistent karma yoga practice to begin. Diligence can't be scoffed at. Imagine if the seminar consisted of a bunch of high energy Rajasic people. Nothing wrong with that in the right circumstances, but for that you can go to a rock concert. But how about contributing to the group sattva yourself? We had one woman, you'll perhaps remember her, was always miserable and always asked the same question. And all she really added to the question was misery, which was very irritating for most people. I tried to put on my, my kind, compassionate bona fides and, burnish those and get her to get into the spirit of, but she never did. And when we insisted that she ceased, being negative, she never returned since that day. Anyway, one of the practices, this is very helpful, this Nicole says, one of the practices I learned years ago when I did many retreats was to take off a couple of days for myself, meaning before the retreat, usually in solitude prior to the retreat, to focus the mind and energy. This helped to reduce the proportion of rajas and increase sattva. Also, after a retreat, not going straight back into the working world helps to erase the transition until it all became second nature. And that's really an excellent suggestion. Because often you think, oh my God, I got to get all this done and get to the retreat. I don't know, I'm in such a hurry, I've got to do this and that, and you show, huh?
But the most important point here is that if the teachings don't translate into your life, you can't live on satsang sattva. That sattva has to be generated by your life, and that's the most important point that Nicole brings up, is that your life needs to be simple. Because if the teachings don't translate, they are of no use to you. They're not going to help the suffering person at all. So there is an application involved here that's really important.
Yeah, you need leisure.
Not just leisure, but you need to apply it in your day-to-day existence, in every interaction.
But I mean, you need leisure in order to have the space to actually.
Yes, obviously you can give yourself that helps.
But that's karma. I mean, karma yoga is simplifying your life.
But even in difficult situations, for instance, parents with young children or a busy work life, there are ways that you can put your workload and your life in the perspective and in the flow of the teaching and apply them. That's what they're for. The karma yoga and the jnana yoga, they work in everyday life situations. You don't necessarily have to take time off from your life. The point is your life needs to be simple to begin with, and then you need to live the teachings and apply them thought by thought.
As we have never tired of saying, your life should be centered around the teaching, not your teaching around the life. So when you wake up in the morning, you should start your day as sadhana, do your prayers and your meditation, read a little scripture, and fortify yourself with a good strong dose of karma yoga before you get out and to face the world.
I mean, it's all very well to spend time in the presence of the teacher and the teachings. That's a great gift, but it shouldn't be absolutely necessary, because you should be able to translate these teachings into your life.
Yeah. The next question was or statement that the inquirer or the questioner had was, a pang of loneliness came up today. So I read just normal feelings that people have all the time. A pang of loneliness came up today. So I read some satsangs and I ended up reading a few on shame, and something stuck a chord with me. I think you did that last week, didn't you? Talk about
we talked about shame.
I'm sure as a jiva, I'm not alone in this realization. No, you're not. But it seems like that one simple word has touched every part of my life, and is the foundation of much of this persona I find myself caught up with. It seems to fuel the near constant worry about others' opinions of me and drive me to try to get people to like me, which ironically binds me to their needs and is a real turnoff, as neediness is not very attractive. Well, amen. And here's what the response. As Ramji said recently, my life story is just a fantasy, not even worth $10. Yeah, we hardly anybody ever reads my Mystic by Default. That isn't even my life story. Actually, that's a real upside life story. I don't even want to write all the misery I went through. So
That's where she starts. I think
no, it's up here.
No, this is where you just, oh, right, okay.
Yeah, it's up
Yes.
here. You shouldn't dwell on it. No, you shouldn't dwell on your life and what it's like. Just use it to show yourself that you can do better, right? In other words, if you got a miserable story, if you're poor me, like, Eeyore, then Eeyore, oh, thank you for loving me, something like that, that neediness. You need a happy story. So what? So get to work and cultivate sattva. You'll like yourself more and more every day if you do. Yeah, you build your story as you go. And you will attract people who are attracted to you. So you won't be short of friends. Neediness is a turnoff. Then this person said, it's made me completely self-obsessed and insensitive. And over what? That means this person is aware, obviously, clearly aware of the problems, but being aware of and being honest about your problem is obviously necessary, important, so you don't project it outside. So this person is introverted now and actually looking at his or herself, is trying to bolster this character that isn't even real and can't be changed. He said, question mark. It'd be funny if it wasn't so pathetic. When this kind of belief arises, I'm constantly applying the knowledge and the opposite thought. But by God, I'm sick to death of this thinking, Ramji. And here's the reply. It's good to reply the opposite thought, but you need patience because you've been thinking the wrong way about yourself for a long time. Self-loathing takes time to go away. Karma yoga, the results are up to Ishvara. In other words, the karma yoga attitude is leave that up to Ishvara and just get on doing the right thing for yourself every day. How does this work in practice, though? What effect is applying the opposite thought having in your daily life? In other words, if you're doing jnana yoga, you're applying the opposite thought, and that should have an effect. That's what she means, Nicole. The loneliness, neediness, worry, anxiety over opinions, and so forth are tamasic thoughts. In other words, you need to recognize the guna here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Go for the guna. Never mind about the thoughts. What's the energy that's in those thoughts? Yeah. The energy that's carrying those thoughts. That's tamaguna, right? And it's that energy that's repelling people and keeping you isolated. Because nobody likes tamasic people. Only other tamasic people like tamasic people. Let's put it that way. And that's really awful when you get into a relationship where both people are tamasic and they just finish each other's sentences and have the same bad habits, et cetera, et cetera. So now, applying the opposite thought only helps if the mind guna is managed at the time. She says, guna management is observing how the gunas play out in the mind and noticing if I'm identifying with a particular guna state. The state's what's interesting, not the thoughts themselves.
Yeah.
Simple observation can be enough to objectify the thoughts that arise with the guna. It sounds like you've done the observation, but have not properly attributed it to a particular guna. As you know, discrimination goes out the window when rajas and tamas predominate in the mind.
Very good.
Good one, huh? I looked out the window today and I thought,
This is again the person writing in. This is not the response.
yeah, this is not the response. And I looked out the window today and I thought, wouldn't it be cool just to be interested in what was going on out there in the garden with the plants and the trees, instead of being so consumed by this nonsense? It would actually. I was out in my garden today, playing with my cactuses and so forth. How nice it would be not to piss away so much time and energy, think useless thoughts, and actually have the capacity to be open to what's around me instead of trying to extract something from it. Makes me sick thinking that this is my thinking. Yeah, good.
That's a good sign.
That's a good sign. Now, what's the downside then? What's the solution? Because remember, the solution is always available right now, here, at every moment. You can just turn everything around, right? Just turn on your life on a dime at any moment. Response: the worry, anxiety, shame, and thoughts are thinking you. Nicole said. Right, you're being thought by those thoughts.
Mhm.
You don't realize that that you have the power not to think them.
When you have a Vasanoble thinking and those kinds of thoughts,
Yeah.
it's an ingrained pattern.
So it's just a loop,
It's a loop.
and that's what we call samsara. You're like in prison.
Mhm.
You can't get out of that thought cycle. Identification with these thoughts keeps them going. Keep your eyes open for the woods. He said wood. He said, wouldn't it be nice? Well, there's a wood that there should be. Should have a beeper. A meep. Danger. Like in an automobile when you don't put on your seatbelt. When you hear the word would or should or coulda or supposed to or must or have to or whatever, those kind of words, every time it should go beep. Well, it's just the most irritating sound you should have. Because then now you've identified the problem. As yourself, why not just appreciate the little things here and now? I mean, what's to keep you from appreciating? Why project it into the future? I wish I could, if I only had. You are aware of the mind because you are awareness. But once you are aware, then you can work on non-dual thinking. In other words, once you haven't objectified the ego, then you can what? Then you can bless the ego with what? Teaching it how to think non-dually. And then the questioner says, but on the flip side, I'm grateful. See, that's good. But on the flip side, I'm grateful because if this is what's standing in the way of freedom, the stuff I least want to look at, then the fact that it's been seen so clearly can only be a good sign. And the response is yes, indeed. Remember, and always think of Arjuna in the 11th chapter. Well, when you come like this, because Arjuna doesn't have to fail at that point. He does fail. So he's got to come back, and there's another Gita called what is it called? The Rama Gita? No, something. What is it? I've forgotten the name of the Gita, but in that Gita, he comes back and does his sadhana and gets moksha. So anyway, and then he says, "Got any advice, recommendation, observation?" So those are great satsang,
Very good, Nicole.
Nicole,
Yeah.
and I'll send that to you tomorrow. So let's see, what do we got next? Dear Ramji, what is this? Oh yeah, okay. Oh, here's some here. Okay, this is Damien.
You did say they could ask any question.
Yeah, you can ask any question. Yeah, well, this is good because I'll get to it in a minute. Dear Ramji, as we discussed last week, here's my question about chanting. Is Vedic chanting unique in the world? How does it work? I remember loving Gregorian chant in the seminar, but I imagine the current of the chants is very important. Could you elaborate? Yeah, you know, we just had a first board meeting of Shining World Incorporated. This is a nonprofit charitable institution now, and we're forming committees, which will be directed by people with a particular interest in a particular vasana, for using their talent or ability, their musical, artistic, their talent or ability to generate, you know, to teach a non-dual wisdom.
But he's asking about identity. Mantra.
Well, I know, I'm going to say that. So at that point, I'm just making a little
Right.
a plug for the, so keep an eye on the website and so forth. And we're going to invite people to join these committees. They'll be chaired by somebody like for Sundri. She's an artist. She'll be on that committee, and so forth and so on. There's musical people too. There's one, Barbara, who's a world-class bass player. She plays this, you know, the big huge bass thing, and she's working on using, you know, this Guru Stotram, which a few verses of which I talked last week about it. She's trying to convert that into into music for her own sadhana, you know, so that if you have that musical vasana and singing, because the whole thing now about chanting is that you know, this is how you convert your emotions into devotion. You take that emotional energy where, you know, that normally goes into love of objects into love of God. And so there's two basic kinds of chant. One is the chant, I mean, the two reasons why people chant. And most people chant just for the feeling. I understand what you mean about Gregorian chant. So I went to military prep school, which was you know, we had vespers and every day and mass at the evening, and we had a choir that did Gregorian chants, and it was so beautiful, but I had no idea what they were saying, you know. So just the feeling itself, you know, the bhakti or the love that's going toward God is you know, purifying. But what do those words mean? So in Vedanta, our chants, you know, we have a dualistic chants that cultivate bhakti. In other words, the knowledge of bhakti. That one that I sing often. Tvameva mata, japita tvameva, tvameva bandhus jasaka tvameva, tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva, tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Now there you're, you know, that's a dualistic relationship, but you're converting your emotional connection to your family and your friends and your mother and your father into devotion to God. You're transferring that emotional energy to there. Now, that doesn't mean you don't love your family and friends and so forth, because when you love God, then know that by default, that includes your family and your loved ones and so forth and so on, and your friends. So
Also a great way to transmute negative tamasic or rajasic thinking. Great way to do it.
yeah,
It's one of the fastest ways to transmute. It's
yeah.
almost instant.
it is instant. It just lifts you right out of that state, that
Yeah.
you know, that dull state of mind, that emotional state of mind. Oh, if I only had, oh, would somebody
Like
love me, blah, blah, blah.
the satsang that we've just read. Those thoughts could have been easily transmuted with
Just
chanting.
by chanting. So right. So and these are identity, and then there's another mantras which are identity mantras, you know, like Aham Brahmasmi. Now those you don't have to have a particular tune. Those you're just meant to contemplate on the meaning. And Aham Brahmasmi means what? I am limitless, non-dual actionless, ordinary, unborn, ordinary awareness.
And the jiva is not separate from me.
And the jiva is not separate from me. Yeah. And so in Vedanta, there are 4 of those. They're called Mahavakyas, great proclamations. They're great because they indicate the identity between the jiva and Ishvara. So
Very
yeah,
well.
and so you're right. You imagine the content of the chants
Yes.
is very important. And could you elaborate? Well, that's a beginning elaboration. So once we get this musical, this artistic, this committee on art, and it'll probably have several subcommittees for different topics. I know Gail is an actress, and so that's an artistic profession. And so there's all sorts of, and you people can, because the idea is this has got to go on into the future. That's why we set this up. We want this to really, really keep going on because it really works and it's blessing a lot of people. So we want you to, hand this down to the younger generation. I'm a dinosaur. I'm on the way out. We're all on the way out, but I'm on the way out sooner. and you can, make your contribution and then hand it on down to the next generation. We hope that some of you young people who are in this will also join these committees and help us out and learn how to express yourself properly so that you can spread your joy and your knowledge to the world.
Yeah, we want, on that note, we want people to realize, you all to realize that the Sampradaya is not something that existed a long time ago.
Yeah.
And, only special people are part of the lineage. We are all the Sampradaya. That is what we are. We are the eternal way. And it's a responsibility of everybody to pass on the knowledge in whatever way you can. That's how we protect it.
Right.
And chanting will definitely be one of those ways by sharing it.
Absolutely. Okay, here's Carolyn says, needs better Maya. You mean I need better Maya?
No, I think she's referring to the question.
Oh, I see. I'm guessing sadhana, karma yoga, yes.
Yes.
Separate the material from the spiritual.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
More discrimination. in other
More
words.
discrimination.
More application of the teachings.
Absolutely.
And more guna application.
Guna management.
Yes.
You see, these are all just different words that talk about the same thing.
Yeah.
The talk about, spiritual life, spiritual living. Here's Jamie. Everything is always a perfect balance. Sattva is always watching, Rajas and Tamas. It's knowing you are the knower of the mind. Yeah, the word I like here particularly is balance. Let me see if I can find this satsang I got here. Just a minute. Oh yeah, here it is. This is about balance. And I wrote that, I've been working on this one for a couple of days. I think it's a really cool satsang, and anybody could take this. I'm going to put it on the website, so you could take this and write commentary on it. Would be a really good sadhana to do here. So there's this. Here's the quote. It's from the Katha Upanishad. Narrow is the path to truth. Narrow as a razor's edge. That's the title of the satsang. And here's the verse. Arise, awake, and learn by approaching the exalted ones. For that path is sharp as a razor's edge, impassable and hard to go by. Thus say the wise. So the topic here is what? What we don't know, we know. And the subtitle is duality. Ignorance or indulgence? These are key words. These are little key words that you need to help to memorize, because when you find yourself in this position, then that'll click this whole teaching into place and lift you right up. It says, so here's what I said. Why is the path narrow? Because, now how would you answer this? Well, this is kind of a hard question. These are Upanishad questions, and they're not obvious because there's only one way to freedom. Right? So it means what? There's not a lot of choices. You don't have a lot of choices. There's just one small choice, and for a path. Right? What is that? One way to freedom? A qualified means of knowledge. In other words, a path of knowledge. Is experience a means of knowledge? These are another questions that come up. It may be. You may, like Ramana, you may gain knowledge out of an experience, but generally you don't. What happens is you get emotionally overwhelmed when you have one of these epiphanies, these spiritual experiences or mystic experiences, and you don't gain the knowledge that this is me. Right.
On the other hand, all experience is meant to deliver knowledge. That's the purpose of all experience.
Give them your soundbite. What is
Well,
it?
I think they know.
Well, say it anyway. There's new people here.
All experience is a slowly released time capsule meant to deliver knowledge. So that is the purpose of all experience, because life is experience. You cannot separate experience from life. You're always experiencing,
Yeah.
and you're always only experiencing the self. And that's what experience is meant to show you, that's all you're ever experiencing.
Yeah, that's all. Whatever experience you're having is meant to teach
Yeah.
you who you are. That's Vedanta. It's very, very immediate and practical topic. And what is the topic? Freedom from the person. Why is there, okay. Why now this is here's the logic. I mean, logic needs to be there. You can't just say this and parrot this, memorize this. You have to know why. Why is there no path to truth? A, because reality is non-dual, that it's called Satya. And B, because life is a zero-sum game, that's called Mithya. Because in other words, we have Satya and Mithya. Life is, reality is, experiences, Satya and Mithya. And two, the second reason is because I am the truth, which is what? Liberation from the person. Okay. Now that's what freedom from the person. Now here's the next topic that this is suggested by this teaching, freedom for the person. Why is it narrow? For the same reason, because reality is non-dual and because life is a zero-sum game. And because I am the truth. Where is there any choice? Are there any options if you are the truth? That is, of course, that depends upon knowing that what you are everything that is. You, what, meaning existence itself.
That's the non-reducible fact
Yeah,
of life.
that's non-reducible fact.
That's the end.
Now here, so we talked about I said the key word in this teaching was this Jamie's satsang or reply is what? Yoga, it was balance. And here the topic is, this is the final conclusion on this narrows the razor's edge. Yoga is balance. And here's a meditation. Imagine, this is just imagine this. Imagine, visualize, okay. Imagine that you, the truth, are standing on a razor's edge. Darkness on both sides. On the right, the darkness of knowledge, and on the left, the darkness of ignorance. If you fall, you die spiritually. Why do you die spiritually no matter which way you go? If you fall into knowledge, you die of conceit. If you fall into ignorance, you die as you live. Remember the statement in the Gita that what one who follows the knowledge ignorance path, he goes from death to death. In other words, you're dying all the time while you're living. And here's an illustration. I just wrote up an illustration. You remember that guy that called, what is it called, the wire? This guy that walks between these two buildings in New York City, two skyscrapers. There's a cable stretched between two skyscrapers, and this guy gets on them and he walks from one skyscraper to another, and the wind's blowing. It's not like it's just dead still. The wind's blowing. And the wind, of course, is variable. So it's, even though it's blowing, it is not just a constant. So you can't really predict what it's going to do. So here's the illustration now. A tightrope walker must maintain balance because he may fall to the right or to the left. So they've got this big pole, right? They're holding here, and they're always adjusting, equilibrating, making sure what, according to the pressure from the atmosphere, he's constantly adjusting that pole to what, to keep himself vertical on the because he falls off this way, he's done. He falls off that way, he's done. It doesn't matter which way he goes. And now, so this is obviously a metaphor. An inquirer must maintain balance. If he or she indulges adharmic vasanas, he or she is lost. Example, the fallen yogi. If he or she ignores dharmic values, he or she is lost. See, if you indulge in your adharmic vasanas, you're lost. And if you ignore your dharmic vasanas, what? You're also lost. This is what we mean by zero sum. And the example is the fallen yogis. And modern spiritual world is
and also if you get stuck into the conceit of being a spiritual person, you're also lost.
Yeah, that's right. That's knowledge. You think, oh, I'm spiritual. I'm doing Vedanta. I'm really cool. I know what all these fools don't know. I'm a non-dualist.
I'm special.
I'm special, so forth and so on. So okay.
So the next question.
Yeah, I'll get over there, sweetheart. Let me get this over for us.
That one you've done.
Which
Next is
Sareka.
Sareka.
I think it's the Uddhava Gita. Yes, that's right. Sorry. Uddhava means the ultimate, the final. The Uttama or Uddhava means the last Gita, where he gets it. Yes. German, dear Ramji, I sent you a satsang as mail, a response to the inquirer. Oh, good. I haven't seen my email. It was just recently, I think, must be. Martin.
He's also sent it by email.
Okay, good. Just sent it per mail. Response doesn't fit into the chat box. Yeah. Okay. I got time now. The people are taking a lot of the daily work off my shoulders, and I have time to answer these questions and help you guys. And Sundri does too. She's off to Bali, and the internet's everywhere, and so
we work wherever we are.
We work wherever we are, so it doesn't matter. In the book, The Value of Value. Now this is Sonic. Let's see, Sonic. Okay. In the book, The Value of Values, there's a beautiful section entitled Self-Condemnation by Swami Dayananda. I refer to it often. Oh, right. I don't remember that, but that's Dayananda's writing on the values is extraordinary. That little book, The Value of Values, everyone should read that. And I have a rendition of that. I've added some values and gussied up some of the language of his, but the value of values is an extremely important topic. And in fact, the last part of the Gita, which is all about self-actualization and becoming a classic cultivated person, that's all about values. It's all about understanding the Rajasic, Tamasic, and Sattvic values and practicing those values, and turn your life into what? A practice of those values. Oh, and Man on a Wire. That's right, David. Yeah. And then there's the Flying Walendas. Yeah, Matt, that's right. Forgot about them. That's an old time. That dates you, Matt. That dates us. Now it's Cirque du Soleil. But the Flying Walendas, yeah, they were a family of high wire artists.
Yep.
And, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
Yannick also answered by mail.
Yeah, yes, Yannick, I got yours. So I've got my work cut out for me this week. It'll take a little time, but don't worry about it. I'll
Well,
go
the
through
idea
it.
was that we would read them now. That's the idea, that's why they said.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, I could get them up. I could, okay. Let's try, Leonic was the first one to come in. Let's get it here. I can get it. You're right. Let's go. This is so cool that you can, we can just zip around. Let's get this out of the way that I can see where it is. Oh, there you are. Oh, here's Leonic. Okay. Here's what Leonic says. Dear Ramji and Sundri, here, well, let's get this out of the way. That over there. Please let me share with you the homework by email. I tried answering the best way possible, and the result was commentaries with any idea presented. Okay, the result was her commentaries. But first, I must be sincere with you. I hope so. Please don't be insincere. Okay. Where are we here? But first, I must be sincere with you. When I was reading the email, I remembered the garbage can person concept. And it took me a moment how to approach the problem from the best point of view. Yeah, the garbage can person is a person who loves who is so needy they'll take any kind of abuse from other people. And that makes them feel good. They don't care about the abuse. They feel that they're being loved when they're being abused. It's called perversion, needless to say. But some people are like that. They're perverted, and right. So, from the best point of view, answering it as I could would be answering to myself. I just said, how would Ramji and Sundri answer this email? And I realized that the proper answer always will be honest and straightforward, but loving and compassionate at the same time. With all my love, gratitude, Yannick. Here's the homework. Now, we already know this, the statement she said, this was about during the seminars, the usual samskara, rose, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And she says, dear person, at least you have taken the brave step to realize what a problem it could be to be what it is, or it could be what it is to be stuck in that repetitive cycle of thoughts. I think the big drawback is that you identify strongly with them and allow those trends to guide you like a domino effect. Yeah, that's a good one. That's right. That's exactly what I said. But that's the teaching. But just as you have recognized the problem represented by attachment and identification with those thoughts, you must have a great observation to transform them from a downward spiral toward a conscious flow of constructive thoughts. Hey, this is good, Neonic. Good for you. I don't have to fix this one up at all. Good. Since for every feeling of need, there's a counterpart in the service toward your neighbor, toward the neighbor. For everyone, but in other words, you can give something to the person who's in front of you, right? And there's always somebody around to serve. So there's an opportunity there to transform that feeling. For every unpleasant thought, there's a counterpart that helps you to see the goodness of Ishwar in the world around you. Like you remember, it was really hard to find to like Donald Trump, as a person, but then because he lies and cheats and all this sort of thing. But then all you have to do is think, well, he loves his kids, so there he's got love, and whatever love he has, he loves himself, his ego. Well, that love is just still a spiritual love. It's just going to the wrong direction. So look for the opportunity, look for the positive thought that's hidden there is the idea. Then she says, the mind is master of habit, conscious and unconscious, but it belongs to you and not the other way around. Good. That's very good. Allow the mind to be, you really love it, Leonic. Allow the mind to reflect the goodness that you have within each object around you and make it a conscious habit, starting with small things and stopping the flow of negativity to replace it with one of kindness. Instead of judging, admire. Instead of blaming, acknowledge and forgive. Instead of comparing with others, compare yourself with your own person. And at the moment you project fears and conflicts in a situation, remember that it is you who is causing it, and that none of that belongs to your true essence of love.
Very nice.
Very nice, beautiful. And then the next statement that she's responding to is, these continue to intensify after every seminar. The real study begins the moment the class ends. Absolutely. And self-observation starts little by little from there. Evaluate your expectations and remember the true meaning of sadhana, which implies turning your activity towards a higher purpose from small daily acts. Everything becomes like a constant exercise to strengthen the most important muscle, recognizing your true nature in each moment, beyond the food for your soul that each satsang represents. Do not stay with the dependent desire to be nurtured by the teacher when the light has always been in you. And don't stay with the desire for more explanation or teachings either. That's a good one, right there.
Don't get sucked, don't get addicted to the knowledge itself.
Yeah,
Enjoy the knowledge.
yeah, because we've had people who just keep
Studying Vedanta.
yeah, studying Vedanta and generating more and more and more questions.
Mhm.
I had one guy, I had to just stop teaching him because he wouldn't get it. And finally, when I stopped teaching him, then he relaxed, and now he seems to have assimilated the essence of it. And he doesn't write me any more of those tedious satsangs over and over and over again anymore. So it's really nice, and I can feel his love coming. So, and don't stay with a desire for more explanations or teachings either, since satsang only reveals what you already knew, but had forgotten. Diligence and fanaticism are two extremes of the same attitude. In reality, what we must find with the constant exercise of sadhana is progressive neutrality and equanimity, and that is the true presence of the self.
That's the balance again.
That's your balance, that's right. We will only achieve it by recognizing the real from the unreal in each conscious moment of our life. At that moment, we achieve detachment from the fruit and from the expectation of our actions.
Very good, Leonard.
Very nice, lovely. And then this is about loneliness. That's what she says about that. It seems that you've lost yourself in duality and perfectionism of an illusion that you yourself have imagined. We've all gone through that at some point in our lives, and I can assure you that this emotion of loneliness has accompanied me more than once, and I've witnessed it very recently. But don't focus on that, as it is all a part of the same expression of ignorance, and you have to act as an impartial witness who quietly observes this flow of expressions of the mind ego and recognize that they are not eternal. They are having resistance to grow. They are
just having resistance.
They're resistance to growing yourself
and
and reacting according to your nature. You are halfway there because you have the ability to witness what is happening in your life. Most people would let themselves go by the inertia of the teachings, with the inertia of things. And these are their pleasure seekers. And seek palliatives instead of immediately recognizing what is happening.
That's what most people do. That's how they live their lives.
Yeah, they just want band-aids. You have that advantage and the courage and bravery to seek help from your teacher. Good. Just allow yourself to let go of that feeling of separateness that leads you to loneliness, because by recognizing that our essence is unity, you are certainly not alone. Ah, good. And by understanding the teachings of Vedanta and non-dual thought, we claim the unity with the whole and eternal. Look at it from the most logical point of view possible. It's absurd to be alone, much less to feel alone. knowing that we are oneness, wholeness, and completeness.
Very nice.
Nice. And this is
About his obsession.
obsession, yeah, self-obsession. But remember, are you a who or a what? Oh, right. Hey, that's a good idea. Do not confuse those pitiful emotions with your eternal identity of love and wholeness. Recognize now that your ego is deceiving you and distracting you from the path you have started to remember your true identity. It is part of the resistance that imposes towards that change in the perspective of life and the world. The character, the persona that you have, as well as we all have, is still an object, a tool to interact with the world. And you must take care of it and respect it because it has its value. Without it, you have no vehicle to go through this human experience. However, his importance reaches this far. It is perishable, its importance, yeah.
Yeah.
And as hard as it is to recognize this role, that's what it is. It's only role. Persona comes from the Greek and it means mask, and that's what it is. The truth is this: there is nothing that can harm you, destroy you, hurt you, or change your true nature. Throw away those threatening and self-destructive ideas. Every time you have those ideas, remember these words in any order and believe it because it is true. I am complete, eternal consciousness, love, lighting up the world. The world lights up because of me. Be sure the order of these words doesn't affect, these words won't. Be sure, know that the order of these words doesn't affect the result. Oh, good. And then this is the last one about like,
Looking out the window. and
yeah,
wishing
looking
it
out the
worked.
window, wishing. Beyond the constant criticism and judgment of yourself, you must remain neutral in the presence of these ideas. First, try to that's the balance, neutral, stay in the middle. Narrow is the path, the truth, right? First, try to recognize that there is no point in filling yourself with this package of emotions and ideas that do not serve or honor you. Also, you are wasting time unnecessarily when it comes to your life. Yeah, that's right. Life is short. And that time is wasting.
It's a dog.
That wasted time is a dharma because you're throwing precious moments of life. Oh, that's right. It's throwing them away instead of understanding the real meaning of life itself, and that everything is part of the same emanation from Ishvara. You are also unnecessarily creating a karmic cycle of denial, projection, and acts. So the more importance you give to those ideas, the easier it will be for you to get lost again in the middle of the suffering, because the false identity will cause you to lose the compass of your true nature. But from here here comes the opportunity to take that as a starting point from which we begin in Vedanta. From ignorance of our true nature toward the knowledge of it, toward an acknowledgement of it or knowledge of it. That's good. Because without the compass of Vedanta, the ignorance of that's a good one, a compass. The ignorance of your glorious nature will turn into denial, cynicism, and disbelief. And from that denial comes a projection of your own fears and insecurities into harmful, destructive, nonsense bunch of repetitive thoughts and acts. And finally, you are tied to that karma in your own cycle of samsara. Are you completely sure you want to participate in that? Drop cynicism and intellectual judgment and turn the problem around, which ultimately only exists if you create it. Put your trust in the teaching and in the teacher, and you will see that the veil that prevents you from seeing what is real and recognize what is false will gradually fall away and will help you to maintain that trust, the trust you need to recognize that unconditional love that you are. And how capable you are of truly practicing karma yoga without attachment to any expectation or to the fruit of your effort. Yes, yeah, karma yoga is just how enlightened people live in this world. Right? But fully honoring the light that you are. That's why you offer your actions as a as a gift, as a offering to yourself. You're grateful for the light, that being the light that you are. At that moment, when you renew that confidence and refocus your karma yoga practice, focus more on karma yoga than sadhana. Well, karma yoga is sadhana, but yes, in a more honest and intense way, you will see that your mind will stop playing dirty with you, because in the end, you will no longer feel dragged by those tendencies, and they will resonate less every time, until that selfish, plaintive little voice fades into oblivion like Tinkerbell in the Peter Pan story. You got any advice? She says, just do it.
Apply the teachings.
Apply the teaching. Discipline your mind to be quiet by moving your attention to something truly valuable and nourishing. Honest karma yoga. Sincere study and trust in the teaching and your teacher. Honestly toward yourself is the key to overcoming this.
Very good.
Wow.
Nice, Leonie.
Nice. Very nice.
So next is
Who's next?
next.
Where are we at
check
here?
the